it's kind of tongue in cheek to say stuff like, "Oh, life changing." I, I've been living at a 7 out of 10 for so many years. I've forgotten what it feels like to just sit in a chair and not be uncomfortable. I've forgotten what it's like to just be able to go on a walk with my wife. I've forgotten what it's like to just live without pain. I've just been in constant pain for so many years. And for within months, days, it felt better. But in this progression, I'm a new person. And all of that is Connor's programs. And I can't thank the guy enough. And just it's magic. And if magic is real, I am living body of that. And mind you, I had been to every physical therapist, chiropractor, massage people, acupuncture. I mean, scraping and cupping and everything. I spent so much money and talked to so many people and watched so many YouTube videos and been poked and prodded into oblivion that we should have solved it on accident by now.
I've gotten many requests for case studies where people have a little bit more going on that's not strictly biomechanical. And what I do in more of these advanced or complex cases. Well, here's a perfect example of one in Chris. Chris was dealing with a lot of left side issues, left leg numbness, left glute issues, and also particularly the most left lower back issues. So this was something that was going on for probably about 7 years, and he had seen everyone, as you saw within his testimonial, but no one could quite figure out what was going on. So he came to me because he saw a YouTube video of mine and he tried some of the exercises. They seemed to have some positive effect and he wanted to see what we could do. When I initially assessed him, I noticed that he was in a position where his left side was rotated more forward than his right. I knew this because his assessments were indicating that. The more forward or anteriorly oriented one side of the pelvis goes, or both, they're going to lose more and more range of motion in both internal and external rotation. Chris was someone that had a pretty big limitation in his ability to pass an Ober's test, which if you've seen other case studies of mine, you know that that is the great ultimate test to know if someone's hips are in a neutral position. Because if you aren't and you're tilted forward, then there's no way you're gonna be able to bring that leg all the way back into genuine hip extension and then drop it down into internal rotation and adduction because your pelvis is so far forward that you're stuck in a position of hip flexion and usually external rotation. Now, regardless of the type of person I'm working with and how complex their issues may be, I'm always going to start about 95% of the time with the basics to see how much change we can get. Because a lot of the times, if you address the pelvis and the rib cage and all of the associated bigger structures, then a lot of the stuff upstairs tends to clear up on its own. But sometimes it doesn't. This is one of those cases. Now, as he came in for subsequent sessions, I knew he was making some meaningful progress. I measure that by seeing, okay, how much progress did we make at the end of your last session? Where did we get your assessments? You should be able to come in at that same place with the positive change without having done a drill in about 4 to 6-ish hours, and that would represent your body's able to adapt and it's holding on to those changes. He was getting about half of the adaptation that we would be looking for, which is not terrible, but it's not quite optimal. So we started to wonder what's going on because he was already feeling better, but I just had a feeling that there was something additional going on because his progress was slower relative to a normal individual who's trying to progress through these phases. So what I did notice is that he did have glasses on. So I asked him, hey, let's do something really quick. Let's run an experiment. What I did was I put him on the table and all I did was measure his range of motion with his glasses on and then his glasses off. And what I noticed and what he noticed is that when we took his glasses off, his range of motion was noticeably better, that quick, that instant. And a lot of these range of motion table tests are representing how safe does the body feel? How comfortable is it? How much tension is within the body? That's why you can get such quick changes without doing anything other than just adjusting glasses. And within the conversation we had following those tests, he said, yeah, I do think that my left eye is a little bit weaker and it's not quite as good as my right eye. So I said, okay, let's experiment with that. And what I did was I gave him an eye patch, or I just had him cover his eye, depending on what we were doing. And I put him in left stance. And when he covered his right eye and got into left stance, you can see that he immediately felt different. I referred him out to an optometrist in town that I know is familiar with the concepts of what I do within this gym and generally how to assess these differences from side to side imbalances and asymmetries. When Chris was younger, his old optometrist determined that he needed glasses. However, when they put glasses on him, he was seeing double. He was seeing two images of the same thing. So what they did was they changed his prescription to prisms, which allowed him to see clearly and only one image. These prisms were put in his left eye because that was the eye that was causing him to see double. So while technically he was seeing more clearly, what it was really doing was decreasing his ability to sense peripheral vision around him. So his central vision of looking at something directly was great, but the issue is that peripheral vision is what is necessary for our body to understand where it is in space. It is massively important for you to know and sense unconsciously things around you so that way you feel safe and stable. A great way to think about this is, let's say I'm taking a step forward with my left side. As I shift onto that leg, I'm sensing things in my periphery, unconsciously obviously, moving back as I'm moving forward in space. This allows me to know where I am and effectively and safely shift over to that side. So that's why it's really important for us to sense peripheral vision. However, Chris's prescription was limiting his ability to do that, especially on the left side, because that's where that prism was. What is also very interesting, which the first optometrist he had did not catch, is that Chris has a genetic abnormality of a muscle in his left eye that affects the way that he creates essentially one image in his central vision. So what they did is give him a new prescription with a much more mild prism on the left side. What they also did, which is I think a major key, is that they gave him frameless glasses. Frameless glasses open up the world around us, because if we have frames around our eyes, we're basically limiting our peripheral vision inherently. So these frameless glasses, so to speak, are allowing him to open up his periphery around him and be able to feel more safe shifting into left stance. So as soon as they put those prescription glasses on him, boom, he was able to shift into left stance and he felt very comfortable. So now we got him in a position where his glasses aren't limiting his ability to hold on to adaptations. Now, just because he had better glasses doesn't mean he's off the hook and he can just live the rest of his life without any pain whatsoever. This opened up a better opportunity for us to give him what he needs to effectively shift into left stance. What we did through various trial and error is that we found Chris's right chest wall was quite depressed, and that was pulling him over to the right side. We needed to open up those right ribs and help him shift left more effectively. So we did a couple of exercises that easily allow him to create that right expansion, and then we followed that up with activities that would allow him to effectively use the musculature that pushes him out of his right side and gets him in his left side. There is one exercise progression we use, which I have in my beginner body restoration program, and also my No BS guide to anterior pelvic tilt, which is designed to help him do exactly that. So by first opening up his right chest wall, we were able to then have more of an opportunity for him to shift into left hip internal rotation and use the musculature he needs to do that. From there, we're going to get him upright into a position that actually mimics left stance, and he can stay shifted in his left side while mimicking right swing. If he can hold on to all those aforementioned muscles and positions, this is a better upright progression that will actually allow him to mimic the ability to shift into left stance phase of gait. Now, I'm very fortunate that I have a network of practitioners that I can recommend my clients go to within my town and city. But obviously I understand that a lot of you don't have that. So what I recommend is you look at the map of practitioners down below, which will have a link to different people around mostly the United States where they can address some of these visual and cranial things. So just make sure that that's part of the courses that they've taken to make sure that they're going to be able to help you the best way that they can. Within my main biomechanics course, I'm going to give you the tools to be able to address the basics and the stuff that you would need to complement this multidisciplinary integration. So I'm not going to teach you to be an optometrist because that would be illegal and wrong, but I am going to give you the tools to know exactly when and how to refer out and how you can complement what they're doing, whether that's someone that's working on their cranium or visual system, to optimize the progress for your clients. Because you stuck around to the end of this video, I know you're probably interested in learning more, so I'm going to give you an exclusive 15% off of any of my biomechanics courses, including the beginner one and also the main one, obviously. The code is CaseStudy15. You can use that at checkout.